Alright, so we're back in the world of Monster Hunter Wilds, and today I'm going to be showing off the corrupted Dragonslayer build. This is the build that was utilized by the fastest speedrunner, taking down some of the strongest enemies in under 3 minutes. This build utilizes the Purifying Biomains. This is a dragon focused weapon that does a ton of dragon damage to pretty much any dragon enemy, and it comes built in with really good guard. We also take advantage of the Fulgur Engine set to maintain really high stamina, as well as the Dahad set to give you really high uptime on all your crit, giving you basically perfect crit. If you're looking for one of the strongest builds to take down the dragon enemies, then this build is going to be perfect for you. Let's begin. Alright, so before we dive into the build, let's talk about the build a little bit to give you a better understanding of how it works, and yeah, so you can just be prepared for it. So as you come to expect, we're going to be using offensive guard as well as guard. These are going to give you really solid benefits in terms of defense as well as offense for doing the thing you're already going to do, which is defend. Where we get a lot of our damage and utility comes from a handful of buffs. First, we're going to be utilizing 5 points of weakness exploit. This makes it so you have high crit chance while you're hitting weak points, which is going to be fairly easy. When you're hitting wounded weak points, you're going to get 50% crit from this alone, which is actually pretty massive. We're also going to be taking advantage of the Agitator perk, which is going to make it so that whenever the enemy is enraged, which they generally always are because they're dragons, you're going to also get a ton of extra attack as well as more affinity. We're going to be using Maximum Might, which is going to give us more affinity whenever we have high stamina, and due to some of the pieces of the set, we're going to have over normal stamina, making it so you can keep the uptime on this near perfectly. All these benefits plus a little bit of crit boost is going to make you a pretty strong force on the battlefield, and you're going to be able to take down some of the toughest foes with little to no problem. That is the general breakdown of the build. Let's go over the parts. Alright, now that you know exactly what the build is capable of doing and you have a better understanding of what the build is, let's go over the build so you know exactly how to build it. So first off, we're going to be using the Purifying Biomains. This is a dragon focused weapon that has dragon damage on it with pretty high base attack. 3 slots, which one is a 3, a 2, and a 1, which is actually pretty good, and it has a base guard built into it. Now, guard is going to be one of your major defensive tools, which is going to make it so that whenever you get hit on your guard, you're going to have less stamina reduction on it, so it's much easier for you to hold your guard, and having stamina up is really important for this build because of Maximum Might, which we're going to be using. So yeah, this is pretty big. Now I'm going to come over here to Gemma really quick and just give you a better idea of what you can actually do outside of this. So let's go to the Lance, and you can actually get this one as well if you don't have this one. This one requires hunter symbols. You can only get those from facing off against, I believe it's 7 and 8 star difficulty stuffs apexes, so you need to get tempered monsters that are like Uthuna, Grey Dow, Arkveld, those kind of. I think Gore Magala counts as well, but those kind of characters, you need that to get the hunter symbols too. And you can use this one in for pretty much all of it if you want up until this point, but you want this one because the extra one is actually pretty useful for your offensive stuff. So yeah, pick this one up. For our helmet, we're going to be using the Fulgur Helm B Beta, which has Agitator. Now, the reason why we want Agitator is because this is actually one of the better offensive base like sets that you can get. You get 20 attack as well as 15 affinity when the enemy is enraged, and if you're facing off against the dragons, I find them to be enraged almost all the time. So yeah, it's going to be pretty damn easy to maintain this buff for the most part, and it's actually really nice. The other benefit that comes with this is Fulgur Engine Will, and this grants an additional stamina gauge. And the reason why this is super important is because we're utilizing Maximum Might, as you can see here, and whenever we're at full, we're going to have 30 affinity because we're using 3 Maximum Mights. We're going to have 30 additional affinity. So just from this helmet alone, well, parts of this helmet alone, you're already at about 45% crit as long as you can maintain your stamina. And when you actually do go to it, I'll just show you so you can have a better idea of it. A little bit of a stamina thing coming up, and then we have that secondary bar. And the great thing about this is you won't lose Maximum Might. See how you have Maximum Might and you're not losing it, and then you finally lose it. That little stamina bar is going to give you a little bit of leeway so you can maintain your Maximum Might, since it does have a little bit of extra. And so you're generally going to only parry with this anyway and you come out of it, so you should never lose Maximum Might, and that's the beauty of it. So next we're going to be also using the Fulgur Male Beta, and this is going to have well, you need the second one to be able to get the benefit of that stamina thing. We're gonna put maximum might. We're gonna put sheath jewel in here, and this is just gonna make it easier for you to put your weapon away so you can move around. And then we're gonna have a brace jewel. This one is interchangeable. If you're playing alone, obviously you won't need flinch free. You can put something else here. I sometimes play with friends, and this is probably gonna be more usable for friends if you're playing with them. And this will make it easier for you to deal with them hitting you, because my friends hit me all the time. So yeah, that's what. So next we're gonna be using the Dahad Shard Bracers Beta. And why we want this is because one is going to give us Agitator, which is actually pretty big, and it's going to give us 1 point in adaptability. 1 point in adaptability is actually not bad because you don't have to worry about cold or heat or anything in the area. And then 1 point in Agitator is going to be good because, again, we're trying to max out Agitator. And this actually comes with a 3 slot, which is actually pretty big as well. And with that slot, we're going to be putting in a Tenderizer jewel, and Tenderizer is going to give us Weakness Exploit. Now, Weakness Exploit, whenever you hit a weak point, we're going to get it to 5, so we're going to talk about 5. But when you hit a weak point, this is going to give you 30% affinity, and if there's wounded, it's going to give you another 20% affinity. So with this, you'll have 50% crit if you're hitting a weak point that is wounded, 30 base if you're hitting a weak point, which you're generally hitting at. So that is super, super big. For our legs, we're going to be using the Arc Volcan Coil Beta. This one is purely because it has 2 weakness exploits on it, because we really need the weakness exploit. Has recovery speed, we don't really care about it, but yeah, 2 weakness exploit, that's why we're using it. For the gems we're putting in this, we have a 2 quick sheath. You can, again, use whatever you want. I like the ability to just kind of put my thing away much faster, but use what works for you. For our legs, we're using the Dahad Shard Greaves Beta as well. This is kind of funny because most of these, side note, most of these things are actually dragon based. So the Dragonslayer part of this actually makes sense. We're using actually just straight up all dragon parts for the most part. Fulgur is actually weak to dragon as well, which is kind of funny. Anyway, for the legs, it's going to have Agitator, 2 Agitator. Again, we're trying to get the Agitator up. And then we have Part Breaker in here. This is kind of a filler. I'm kind of testing it. You can put Foray in here if you want to. I think Foray may actually be better to make it so that they actively get broken a little bit better. That could work really well. Part Breaker is because I was farming. You can put Foray in this if you want to have it so you get more wounds. Just keep that in mind. For our talisman, we are using the Explorer Charm, and this one is actually one of the harder ones to craft in my opinion, because it's going to require you to get a gem from Rathian. You're going to need to get another gem from the Guardian Rathian, or Rathalos, sorry. And then you're going to need to have 5 of the little tickets as well, which means you need to kill Archveld, like Tempered Archveld, like 3 times. And so yeah, this one's a pain to get, but again, it has 2 weakness exploits. And again, we talked about weakness exploit, and we know what we want. For our mantle, we're going to use Corrupted Mantle, but you can swap this out if you want something a little bit more defensive. Personally, I like the one that regenerates, but if you're a little bit more of a careful player, you upgrade your armor, you don't care too much, get the Corrupted Mantle. This is going to decrease your HP, but it's going to increase your affinity and your weapon performance while it's equipped. Repeated attacks on monster will further increase your attack power and affinity. This is something we're going to be doing a lot of. We're poking a lot, we're going to be hitting a lot, so you know, having the Corrupted Mantle is pretty big. Anyway guys, that's going to be it for this one. Huge shout out to Dina for pretty much coming up with this build. I did tweak it a little bit, and there's some things to have some minor changes, but for the most part, this is his build he used for his speedrun, and honestly, this build feels pretty damn phenomenal if you want to face off against dragons. Don't forget guys, if you are enjoying the content, don't forget to leave me a like. That helps me out immensely, as well as subscribe to the channel for more Monster Hunter and pretty much variety games. I will be covering pretty much every game you're going to play this year, so make sure you're subscribed for more, and I'll see you in the next one very soon.